welcome to the Voice Mood. I'm your host, Olivia Peck, your local millennial voice teacher, here to answer your singing questions. Do you want to become a better singer? Maybe you're a singer-songwriter. Maybe you're a karaoke king or queen. Well, you've come to the right place. I'm answering all your questions today. I'm going through the questions of the week, and I'm happy you are here. And here we go. We're going to start right now. Here's a question we had from the week. As a teen singer, mixed voice seems almost impossible to learn, and people overcomplicate it to the point where it isn't understandable. This was so easy to learn and so helpful. Not a question. I lied. But this is from my mixed voice video, and I always talk about mixed voice. I feel like it's a really tricky thing to learn, and I love to talk about it because it's something that I struggled with for a really long time. So if you have questions on mixed voice, fire away. I find that learning how to sing in your mix helps so many things. It helps vocal transitions from low to middle or middle to high. It helps with getting that ping out. So if you ever feel like your voice is too far back or too breathy, it's a great way to really find that pingy, belty sound. It helps with singing higher with power. A lot of different things. So if you're wondering about mixed voice, I would love to talk more about it. But of course, this video you see on the screen right here is a good one for that. It's like the whole rundown on mixed voice made easy. Okay, let's go on to a real question. Thank you for the comment, Miss Americana 13. Okay, there are possibly a couple of questions in here. Let's just go through. This is from my latest video. Hi, Olivia. I have to learn some songs. I'm writing down your tips. Having structure to follow makes it easier and more efficient to learn. Thank you very much. So yeah, I feel like learning to sing is tricky because with piano and other instruments, there's a whole framework of a book to follow. And with singing, it's not as straightforward. And so that's why I made my practice journal. So that's what the last video was about, and I hope it helps. This bottom question here from Spidey Q7M. If I am learning to sing at 15, is that okay, or has it been late? I have a dream to become a singer. This question caught me off guard, and because 15 is so young. You know, if you want to become a singer, you can do it at any age. Seriously. There's lots of people who learn to sing later in life who never thought they could sing, and they're doing it. So if you're young, if you're old, if you're somewhere in the middle, definitely there's hope for you. Definitely. I mean, I have seen miracles happen, people. I have seen miracles happen. When you're around 15, 14, your teenage years, it's a really good time to start building good singing habits. It's actually a great time to learn because you're not a baby, you're not really young, so you can learn things a little bit quicker, but you're also not older, so you might not be stuck in your ways. So it's a very moldable age. And hey, Noah. Hey, Olivia. I was hoping if you were able to hear one of my covers for some advice. Thank you so much for reaching out, Noah. It's always good to hear from you. And yeah, so if you guys have covers, or something like that, you can definitely send me an email. And if you have sent me one already, I believe I've emailed back and forth with Noah already. Like, I know who Noah is. So for Noah, I can go in and, respond to you personally. So yes. And I will definitely do that. Maybe not on the live, but thank you for reaching out because I'm going to go in and go to your Insta and kind of give you some feedback since, you know, that's something I can do for you since I've worked with you before. It's typically something I do for students. So once you take a lesson with me, I'll be able to give you more feedback, and that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles. So I'm excited to give you some feedback, Noah. Thank you for reaching out. And if you have any other questions about singing, I will happily answer them on the live. All right, good question. Good question. Covers are great, y'all. I love talking about covers and how you might want to make them your own. They're kind of tricky to do sometimes because it can be hard to know what your true voice is and how you want to express yourself in a song. I don't know. That's something that I struggle with too. Um, plenty of the time because it's easy to imitate a singer or handle a song the exact same way the original artist did, but you want to do what's best for your voice and you as a musician. So, great topic for sure. All right, let's go to the next question. Again, another teen. Okay, Teen Singer Week. Tommy Jarvis 13th. I'm 18. I've never tried singing in my life, but I wanted to learn. Can you make a full video for beginners who don't know anything related to singing? Great question. So this was on my full voice lesson video, like ultimate singing guide. This would be the video, honestly, for a basic framework. But if you are looking for even more basic, I would say start with that video and then look look for the holes. Like where in that process is it the warm-ups? Is it the part where I'm talking about vowels? Is it something that's not mentioned? Like, I really don't talk about breathing in that video. If there's stuff you feel like there's big holes in your knowledge about singing and you just don't even know where to start with that, let me know because I think it's pretty all encompassing, but there's so much to singing. There's a lot of information out there. It can get very confusing. So, yeah, I would say let me know if there's something specific in there that is throwing you off or is too advanced for you. I try to make it that one pretty accessible, but let me know. The basics of singing really are learning how to breathe properly. And we'll talk about that today, how to warm up properly, understanding your voice. So, understanding are you a higher voice type? Are you a lower voice type? Um, do you have a heavier voice or a lighter voice? And really understanding what that means. So it might feel at first, and I find this a lot, it might feel at first when you learn to sing, just like anything, overwhelming, a lot of information. You're not sure if things are sticking. Once you stick with it, surround yourself with music and kind of listening to a lot of different advice, it starts to the fog begins to clear a little bit. It's like stuff starts to stick eventually and you'll find somewhere to land. That's what I see, but it definitely helps to like have some guidance and ask yourself, what are my singing goals? What are my singing goals? So, we can talk more about that if anybody has any questions. Okay, I have a question in the chat. Let's see what Noah's wondering. I have a question about vibrato. I'm doing a little better with singing other songs without too much vibrato, but now I'm trying to write my own songs, and the vibrato is just like, hey, still here. Awesome. Okay, so when you are trying to control any aspect of your voice, it's something that you want to pay attention to exclusively, right? So if you're writing a song, you're trying to figure out the melody and, oh, maybe you want to put a little riff here. You're also thinking about tonality. You're also thinking about lyrics because you're writing it. You're also thinking about chords. That is so much to think about. And something like vibrato is coming down to vocal control, breath control, and how much space you have. So, what I'm getting at, all of this is to say, is something like vibrato takes specific attention. So, eliminate the words from the equation. And if you're singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and that's the song you wrote, then sing it on like a vowel that doesn't usually help vibrato come out a lot. So if you want a more poppy sound, do it on like an E, a more closed vowel. Okay, so you're doing this is my song I wrote, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and it goes like this. E E E E E E E E E E E E E or E. You can slide through it as well. I actually kind of prefer sliding, but the little glottal stops with a e might help with like the mixy sound. That's what I'd recommend. Just kind of break it down, strip it down, do it on a vowel like because it's a little harder to it it doesn't prohibit vibrato, but it's not exactly the vowel I would choose for bringing vibrato out. And then see if you can use that vowel to train your voice in the song to get the tone you want. And if there's a vowel you find that, ooh, I really like my voice on that vowel, that's my vibe. Maybe it's A, maybe it's ah, then go for that vowel. Try that vowel. There's my little banner. So, yeah, if y'all have singing questions, drop them in the chat. That was a wonderful question, Noah. Thank you very much for asking that. I'm sure other people found it helpful too. So if you're someone who maybe you don't have any vibrato and you want vibrato, you're going to do a vowel that opens you up more. Like, oh, I find is usually a good vowel. Not always for everyone, but oh, ah, those open vowels naturally bring the vibrato out. So, Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars, my song. I want to bring out the vowel. Let me try doing it on an O. Oh. And maybe you hang out longer on each note, give it a little extra chutzpah, little extra breath pressure, a little more openness, and you might find that the vibrato naturally pops out. Perhaps. All right, let's see another question from the week. Loving the questions, guys. There were so many great questions. Okay, this again, I was just wanting to shout out someone for commenting. This is so useful. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. Skelly Skellington 5233. I love comments like that. It always helps me keep going. So thank you so much. Okay, so this was from a submission from the practice journals, and someone had asked more about they want to learn more about vowels, especially demo examples, how to achieve different styles, tones with placement and timbre changes. Great question. Y'all know I love talking about vowels. I've already talked about it today. Okay? I really like vowels. Vowels are just the direct way to train your tongue. Because when you think about like E. Think about the tongue in the back. E. Now do oh, oh. Your tongue is doing something different. Essentially, your tongue shapes your sound a lot, a lot. Not just your tongue, but your jaw as well, your face shape, and your natural build. So we're all shaped differently, and that resonance is different in everyone. But something we can control is our tongue, jaw, and face shape for the most part. And you can really change your sound. So different, but not all vowels are the same and everyone, for instance, think about someone who's from maybe England, their ah might be a little more nasally, ah, whereas in America, ah, it is more flat in the back. So exploring these different vowels is gonna be great training for controlling your sound. And you can explore vowels on your own and find this out for yourself. What is the ah doing in your voice? Is your ah vowel very open, or is it ah more nasal? Is it naturally more head voicey, or is it more naturally like a sound? All of these different things create a different timbre, a different sound, and you can discover that in yourself and use it to your advantage. So, when you look at, for instance, the E vowel, E, if you can learn how to travel through your range on an E, a closed E, with that same ping, that same brightness, you're going to help train your mixed voice, most likely. Most likely. If you can do E, and your tongue stays really flat and the same quality throughout, you're really going to help train your breath and your mixed voice to travel through. Fun fact, oo and e are the same shape in the back of your tongue. Ooh ee, try it. Ooh ee. The difference is ooh is more round in the front, obviously, and e is more wide. So, ooh, same shape in the back, but when you do an ooh, you'll notice the sound will change because of your lips. So that's just one example. Maybe you want to use ooh you still want a bright forward sound. I'm on the deep end, but you want a little more warmth, a little more vibrato. Ooh, I'm on the deep end might bring a little more of a different color, okay? As opposed to oh, all these different vowels have different qualities. That's the great thing about vowels. It can be a little confusing. I always ask people, do you have a favorite vowel? And no one ever has a favorite vowel because no one thinks like that. That's just me. I don't know. I think E is my favorite because once you get the E down, it's very rewarding because it's a hard vowel to do because it's very close. Just try doing this. It's not easy to do. That takes a little practice. Singing a high note on a closed vowel. Anyway, hope that helps. But so if you look at like a vowel like A, if you can do A, that's another great one for your mix. Any A also might, you feel like the tongue is even higher up, it also might help with grit. So if you're doing something where you want a little more grit, like I hurt myself today, a little nasal and a little bit of that A thing going on, brought out some grit. Got to be careful with that, but that is kind of a vowel I would use for grit. Let's say, let's talk about the ah vowel. As I said, there's many different ways people do ah. The Italian cardinal vowels, that's the one we learn in singing school, is like that's a proper ah. It's more open. Ah. Okay. So it's a good way. It's good to know, okay, nice open to be able to do it. There's also a dark which is closer to o almost. So if you're singing like a loife song or something you want to add warmth to, you might want to think of more covered vowels. Moved out to a new city. Another thing you're going to notice, which you kind of got to watch out for, is when you have a warmer tone or a darker vowels, the tongue is not as flat. The tongue might be a little bit maybe even not at the back of your bottom teeth. It might even scooch a little bit back. I don't really normally say, "Oh, yeah, let your tongue slide back." But the reality is your tongue doesn't always need to be at the back of your bottom teeth, and there are plenty of singers who use this to their advantage and will create a darker sound. You just have to be really careful with it, because tongue tension is a very real thing. You wanna have control of your tongue, that's the most important thing. Anyway, same with O. O's one where you can be, "Oh, oh, oh, oh," dark or bright. And it's generally the vowel I use to help people find vibrato because of the shape you create. Oh, oh. Anyway, lots of weird noises today. Today is like lots of weird noises day. All right. Let's look at breath support for singing. This was a someone asked about this in the email. That's why I had to cut out everything in this. All right. So if somebody wants to know about breath support for singing, this always is a hairy topic, but it's a great topic, and y'all let me know in the comments if you have any more questions for this week, and I'll answer them. But I'll talk about breath really quick because this is a confusing topic. I always say the most important thing about breath is not how much breath you use, but how you use it. If you're not sure if you're using the right amount or whatever, less is more, actually, contrary to popular belief. Start with a speaking breath, and if it's not enough for the phrase you're doing, ask yourself, okay, maybe I need a little more breath, or maybe I just need to manage it better. So let's take another song. I'm gonna swing from the chandelier. Chandelier. Okay, so let's start with a speaking breath. I'm gonna swing from the chandelier. Did not need a huge breath for that. Why? Well, the type of singing I was doing, it's a more pop style. I don't need to project a lot, and I'm using mixed voice, so my vocal cords are functioning in a way where a big breath really would not serve a clear sound at all. So that's why I'm using a speaking breath. So anytime you're in like mixed voice or singing pop music, you want to start with a speaking breath and just add a little more for longer phrases. Now, let's say I wanted to sing it like this. Automatically, I already took a bigger breath. I'm gonna swing from the chandelier. If I want all that vibrato and openness, I'm gonna need a bigger breath. Same notes, different style, bigger breath because of the type of singing I was doing. That's how nuanced breathing is, and this is why it gets confusing. Now, in my lower range too, it's different. So I'm gonna swing from the chandelier. It feels more than how much I use for my mixed voice, but not as much as when I used my head voice. It's gonna vary person to person. There's sort of rules of thumb, like everything I just said would probably apply to most people. However, if you have a really big instrument, I would say I have like a medium to smaller size instrument, but if you have a really big instrument, you might need more breath. Something else to factor in is um what am I saying? Something else to factor in is volume, no, phrases. Oh, sorry. Are you raspy? Oh, if you first of all, if you're raspy, like probably should just rest your voice. But you'll notice that if you are raspy, you might feel like you're running out of air really quickly. That's not great. Um, it's because your vocal folds are swollen, I imagine, and they're having a hard time vibrating sufficiently. So I would recommend, you know, taking a break if your breath is not supporting your sound because you're feeling raspy. Oh my gosh, that reminds me. I think this was a question that was not in, yeah, my little picture. I don't have a picture of it like these, But I remember a question from the week and I want to talk about it. Someone had asked, okay, so I used to be able to do lip trills, but I can't anymore. And they could, even when they were doing a lip trill, like, they couldn't even hum it. So that to me is a tricky situation because there if you used to be able to do it, the first thing I think of is like if you used to be able to do a lip trill, what happened in between when you used to do it and when you can't do it anymore? First thing I think of is there's some tension or something changed in you. Like as you aged, maybe the breath support changed, maybe your range changed. I would ask like what parts of your voice are the lip trills more challenging? What parts of your voice are maybe you're still able to do them? Anytime you have you know, some new tension or maybe I hate to say vocal damage, but if it could be something physical because lip trills the way that they work is by getting a pretty good air flow and you're able to relax your mouth and your lips and kind of pucker them a little bit. Somebody said in this book, actually, right here, in this book, they talk about lip trills. I'm pretty sure it was in here, and how to do lip trills, you want to think of your lips being like chubby. I've never heard that before, but you know what? I don't care if it works for you, then use it. So, and I love this book, by the way. And in the description, I have all my affiliate links, which are just links that I personally pick out. I'm like, no, these are good products. This is a good book, and I really like it. It was recommended to me by another teacher, and all the books that I use, I put in my on my website. So anyway, really good book. So yeah, that's what I would wonder if you can't do a lip trill, did something change with you physically? Or if not, go back to the basics. Maybe just there's a new habit you're forming, maybe you're clenching your lips more together than you used to. M is a nasal consonant. So, so is M. And if, M and N are really hard consonants for you, then it might be shutting down your soft palate. Let me see if I have a picture of what I'm talking about because, this is really good to know about your soft palate. Raise your hand if you know what a soft palate is. Does anyone else also have any questions? I'll definitely talk about them. If you have any questiones, we'll talk. Go ahead and fire away. Want to know what's what you're wondering? Okay, so I'm going to pull up a picture of the vocal tract. This is a really good website that I use a lot. Oh. Hello? Okay. This is a really great website. It's from voicescienceworks.org. And you can check out this website if you're curious about any type of voice science. I really like this website. So, this is a picture of your vocal tract. The soft palate part is see where the tongue is and then the air? It's the part above that. And it's that little flap in the back. That's where your soft palate is. Now, see the nasal cavity. When the soft palate is lifted, see how it's completely closing the nasal cavity? That actually moves. So when the soft palate is relaxed and flat, more air can get through that nasal cavity. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But the idea is when you do like a M sound, it is naturally nasal because M requires the soft palate to be sort of, I guess, droopy. It's not lifted, and that nasal sound is able to come through. That's why if you've got a song with a lot of M's and N's, it's harder to sing because it's harder to keep things lifted if you're always singing an M. So anyway, if you're having a hard time humming or doing M sounds, it might be because something having to do with the soft palate or it being just too nasal or whatever. So something to think about. I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch. I'm just trying to figure out why, someone could do lip trills and then not be able to do them. Could be. I don't know. Anywho, if you have any questions about singing, that's what I'm here for. I do these Q&As almost every week. Next week, I think I'm going to be doing a Q&A in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day. I think it's going to be like 11:15 a.m. on Wednesday. Not locked in yet, but I think that's going to be the day. So if you have questions about singing, I will answer them next week at that time. And you can leave your questions in the comments if you're watching this at a later date. Also, if you want to take a lesson with me, you can go to oliviapeck.com. And that is where I put all my stuff, and there's a little form you can fill out. Also, on this website is my practice journal. So, if you saw my last video on practicing and how to do it, I break it down in the video, but then the journal is basically a more in depth written version of that. There's defining all the different types of warm ups and basically why we do them. And then it talks about what order to practice a song and how to, I guess, go in order. It has like a checklist you can use. So it's fun. I really like it a lot. And I'm just looking forward to kind of expanding on that. So that'll be really cool if you want to check that out. And there's like a little submission form. So if you download the practice journal on my website, then it's going to be like, hey, are you interested in voice lessons? Do you have questions? But I really respect your privacy. So if you're like, I'm not interested in voice lessons, I just want the practice journal, that's fine. And if you don't want emails, it gives you that option. So don't worry. It's not like a trap or anything, but it helps me make more stuff and see like what people are interested in, what they have questions about, and then it's easier for me to like help y'all, help me help you. Oh my gosh. And so anyways, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I will happily answer them today or in the future. Also, this is really fun. They have a new thing on here on this streaming thing. Pretty great. Anyway, if y'all do not have any other questions, I'm just gonna talk about a few more things and then I'll be on my merry way. So feel free to drop a question in the chat, but I have some other stuff that I can talk about. I was actually thinking about going a little more in depth on breath support really quick because I didn't really talk about how to breathe. And I don't have a video on this. In fact, the person who asked about this, I ended up sending them my course because I wanted to provide a resource. And in my course, I do talk about it, but let's talk about it right now, really quick. So, the basic way to breathe is to let the air drop in, maybe take a silent breath and feel it kind of drop down in your belly. You do not need to take a giant breath, expand, but you do want to be able to do that if you do need to take a deeper breath. Let the air drop in, and then you want to use the air when you sing, kind of like a steady intensity. So you're not crunching all at the same time, you're slowly pulling in those abdominal muscles. You're not necessarily pushing your belly out when the air goes in, but you are letting it naturally expand as your diaphragm goes down and everything kind of moves out of the way for your lungs to, and so just how it naturally expands. depending on who you are and what you're singing, it's going to expand a different amount. Like I said, some people they're gonna need bigger breaths, and some people aren't. Me having a lighter voice, I know I don't need to take a breath. Usually, that's like really, really expanding my abdominals and my belly. And that's just me. So, it goes out, and then the reason why you hear do lip trill or do a straw exercise is because those are really great for training your breath because you're able to put it in action. So watch my belly. I'll over exaggerate. Okay, so as I sang, it pulled in a little bit. I was over exaggerating. I didn't need to do all that for that little phrase, but on a smaller scale, I would be doing that. That's the idea. And you notice I didn't do this like all at once. It's a slow pull in. So that's how I would describe breathing. It's a gentle action and you control it down here. Anyway, here's a question from Kevuk. Hello. Do you think that it would be worthwhile you doing a short video on basic reading of music just as a lead in for people? Oh my gosh, I actually am obsessed with this question. Thank you for asking this. This is y'all. I love that you asked this, first of all. Second of all, in my experience, teaching, I'm going to put your question back up. Music, basics of music, I can see the eyeballs glaze over immediately. And this is with students that I teach in person sometimes, online. The fact of the matter is, the best way to learn music is a little bit at a time and it's active because it's something you can connect right away. If it's just like reading. If you were reading something and I'm explaining reading to you like coffee, it's C-O as caw. And if I'm explaining that quickly, your eyeballs are going to glaze over. But if we're interacting, like you say, k, k, okay, good. You learn the C and So I think it's just hard to, in a video form, um, create that interaction and really like, okay, stay with me, but I'm with you. Like I really would like to put it in a way that's really tangible and easy to follow. There's just so many angles you can take with it. Generally, as singers, we don't always read music, and so something that gets it can be a bummer when someone gets caught up in it and they feel like they don't understand it, but the reality is if you want to sing, our ears are important to develop, and so developing your ear is so important. I would almost say focus more on ear training than anything else. Like, yes, you want to read music. I'm not going to tell you to not read music. In fact, learn piano, learn ukulele, learn guitar, learn fiddle, but as a singer, ear training is paramount. So, if you can learn that, that's very good. Um, Maybe it's just me, but I really enjoy the theory of it. See, that's great that you are interested in the theory of it. I wish more people were because it's if you can understand how music works, then I mean, it's a huge helping tool. Just the other day, I was working on a song that I had to sing, and at the end of the day, if I couldn't read music, I would have been limited because I would have had just to learn everything by ear. For the most part, I learn stuff by ear because it's easy to do that as a singer. You just listen to the song and it's like, "Okay, I get the idea." But for little riffs and runs and faster moving notes, it does help to go, "Oh, that's the note. Okay, that's a C. I'm gonna write it down, make a little note to myself, and then the next note is D. Okay, da da da. Okay, got it." If you can do that, you're really filling in those gaps for yourself, and you don't have to just listen to it a million, trillion, zillion times, like, "Is that right? Is that right?" So it's a really good point. I would recommend if you wanna learn music to piano. Learn piano, uh start with, for singers, like, the scale on do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Learn the scale, learn the minor scale. La, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Learn the intervals, learn guide tones. So, being able to hear a chord and then sing the do mi so mi do, da do mi so mi do, bum ba da 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 da. So being able to improvise, that would be a great way, I guess, to start to learn music. But even like I'm rambling about learn how to learn music and how to start. There's so many different ways. I really like that question. Now I'm going to think about it, and I appreciate it a lot because let me know how if anybody's watching this later or now, how you've learned music or what your introduction to reading music was. I would really like to know. I'd really like to know. So, thank you for that. Very good topic. Very good topic. There's a superpower in being able to read music. There's also a superpower in having a really good ear. Ella Fitzgerald couldn't read music, neither could Pavarotti. There are plenty of people who can't, but there are plenty of people who are like so knowledgeable and it shows. So of music. So it's like totally everybody's different. How to sing Sabrina Carpenter songs better. Hey, Fender Hardy, welcome. Really good question. So I haven't heard you sing, but I'm gonna talk about some hallmarks, I guess, of Sabrina Carpenter's voice that I can think of. So Sabrina Carpenter, if you think of the way she sings, she definitely uses that cry a lot. I also hear a softness, a sort of smoky sound she uses a lot, and not a whole lot of super chesty, stuff. A little bit of nasal twang. Oh, I leave quite an impression. My feet, to be exact. She's flipping in between mix and head voice, for instance, in that part. So she's an example of an artist similar to Chapel Roan, where she's flipping between mix and head voice a lot. Same with Billie Eilish. They're mixing it up in one single phrase. So you start in, oh, oh, I leave quite an impression. Oh, I leave quite an impression. That's more head voice. 5 feet. That's mixed voice. 5 feet to be. Back in head voice. Be exact. In a more mixy chest voice. If you can learn how to go from mixed voice to head voice to chest voice all in one phrase at Control, that's where you get these really dynamic singers like Sabrina, and it really draws your listener in. Something that I find, for instance, with new singers is they'll figure out, "Oh, I can sing in my mixed voice now," but they'll only use mixed voice. So if Sabrina were, for instance, to just sing that whole thing in mixed voice, it would be, oh, I leave quite an impression. 5 feet to be exact. Pretty dead. Like, yay! Yay, it's all mixed voice. So impressive. But if there's no dynamics to it, then it falls a little flat. So the head voice and chest voice coming in really colors it. Oh, I leave quite an impression. 5 feet to be exact. It's way more dynamic, but it takes practice to know, okay, but when am I going to switch to which one? That's how like in depth your practice can be. Just the other day I was doing this with She Used to Be Mine from Waitress. The song's a little low for me, but I was singing it as a duet and I was like, I cannot sing this the way Sarah Bareilles sang this. It doesn't fit in my voice. So, doing a little homework as to when to switch to which voice for your voice, that's where knowing where different elements of your voice shine. So, I know, and for a lot of people, mixed voice, for instance, mixed voice does not usually shine in the low register, usually. It's not where mixed voice shines. Mixed voice shines usually in like middle to high. Head voice, it usually shines in the upper register. It really can shine throughout. Your head voice can really be utilized throughout your range, but you might have a part of your voice that you like the sound of head voice more. Um, Chest voice usually shines in the low range. To be exact. Okay, so that's more chesty. Knowing where each type style of your voice, or I guess timbres live in your voice, is really good because then you can segue into them. So I know at the beginning of the song, oh, I leave quite an impression. I can do a little bit of what Sabrina did there because at that point, singing my head voice makes sense for me too. So it's not too much of a leap. Now, if she was a much higher voice in this song, if her voice was higher in the song, like, "Oh, I leave quite an impression," it would make more sense for me to do that in my mix up there. "Oh, I leave quite an impression, 5 feet to be exact." And I know to like flip up into my head, "To be exact." That kind of sounded bad, but that's how I would do it. You just kind of start to navigate what sounds good in your voice when, and it starts to become sort of automatic. And that's something people like Sabrina, Billie Eilish, Chappell Roan are very good at doing. They're good at playing to their strengths. Playing to their strengths. You don't hear Sabrina singing that whole thing in her chest voice. You hear her using the voices that she want you like sounds best in at that moment that it sounds best. Anyways, I hope that made sense. That was super long-winded. Great question. I love the question. I hope it helps. Let me know. Let me know, guys, if you have any other questions about singing. I'd love to answer them. Um, Sorry I'm wearing a hat. I'm having a bad hair day. I don't think I need to apologize, but I am. I'm a little bit of a people pleaser. So I'm even apologizing for that. Anyways, if y'all have any questions, let me know. I'm so glad you're here. I love answering my questions of the week, your questions of the week. They're always really great and they make me think about different things like, do y'all think I should make a video on how to read music? Let me know, cuz now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, maybe I should." I don't know. Let me know how to read music, or if you wanna learn more about singing the basics, let me know in the comments. Anyways, I definitely see a video on finding your vocal type, voice range, and another video on breathing in the future, in possibly the near future. So, if there's anything specific about those topics that you feel like the internet you can't find it, let me know and I'll try to include it in the video because I make these videos for y'all. I want to make your life easier. So, all good questions today and I hope everyone is well and life is treating you great and that you get, a great weekend this weekend. Okay, we have a little questione. You mentioned you write your own songs. Think it would be great follow on from your crafting covers video to watch you put together your own song. I think your hat is his masterful statement in fashion. Oh my gosh, I could barely read that. That was so funny. Thank you so much, Kevik. Oh, that's such a good topic, writing songs. Yeah, I would love that. Very vulnerable. Oh my gosh, these are vulnerable topics. But yeah, I would like that. Yeah, the crafting covers video was very fun. And I think so too, like writing songs. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my process in writing a song. So, y'all know I'm a singer first, honestly. You probably know that. So, the way that I write songs is usually the lyrics and the melody kind of come out in tandem. Usually, lyrics kind of first. I'm not a super, uh, like, put it all out there songwriter, but I will say that usually songs, do come from a more emotional place. Actually, I have a song I wrote right here. Oh gosh. How does this go? Rest on uniform, full take that I can't afford. I stopped taking 3 years ago. Okay, yeah. So I do have a little song here, and look at that. It's just okay. All right. So I just wrote the lyrics first, and then I put in the chords after. So when I was in college, I was blessed to have a jazz teacher. Jazz music differs from classical music in its training because there's a lot more focus on chord structure, as opposed to, I don't know, the classical rigmarole. And it's all about breaking the rules and very much about chord progressions and being able to improvise over a chord progression. And this was really my gateway into being able to write my own songs successfully. I was able to, craft a melody, just going, by ear, kind of plunking out the notes, figuring out what the melody is, and then doing chords that make sense with the melody. Okay. So I know that if I'm saying C, E, G, that I'm probably going to put a C chord underneath that type of thing. And then really thinking about, okay, well, if that's the one I'm starting on. And then knowing about how music works, the 4 and the 5 are typical uses, and then if you throw in a 7th or a 6th, that kind of thing. So I do understand, all that stuff for the most part. So I'm able to use that to put chords underneath the songs. And I use piano when I write songs because of that reason. I like to look at the notes I'm playing and think about it from the perspective of, does this make sense? Once it all makes sense, you can get crazy with it and you can make the chords kind of wild if you want. But that's the way that I approach writing. I have a friend, lots of people too, probably, who they just pick up a guitar, they start strumming, and it's off to the races, and they build the chords first, and it's all sound thing for them. But for me, who I really like improvising, I like doing stuff by ear, but writing songs is actually very much like, okay, well, what makes sense? What chords would make sense with this? I hope that makes sense. And that would be fun to do a little video on that. I will consider it. Kevik, very good question. Again, rambled on. It's just such a good question. Yeah, if anybody else has any questions about writing songs or anything, really, I'm probably going to wrap this stream up in a few minutes. So if you have any other questions, fire away. Some really good ones today. Some great questions from the week. I love it when y'all ask questions in the comments or leave a little note. And of course, if you just need more guidance, you can always take a voice lesson with me on oliviapeck.com. There's a form. I'll put it up on the screen. There's a form you can fill out Also, make sure you're subscribed. Usually the people who watch these are already subscribed. But if you're watching this later and book a lesson. Also, thank you if you also liked this video, bonus points. If you liked the video, it helps the algorithm a lot when you like your creators' videos. So thank you in advance. Or thumbs down if you want a thumbs down. Please don't do that. But you can. I'm not stopping you. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, love the comments from the week and anything you're wondering about singing. It also helps like me make videos that people maybe find helpful so that I can kind of see how we're feeling. I like to check this like Google service where it's like what people look up. And there's a lot of stuff about singing bowls. Like a lot of people research singing bowls. So if you see a singing bowl video for me, that's why. No, I won't. I probably won't do that. Anyway, stuff you're wondering about singing and all that jazz. Also, if you haven't seen the practice journal yet, it's on the website. And I'm also doing group classes. So let me know if you want to do a group class with a friend. It's cost effective, it's very fun. You can learn how to sing with a group of maybe of actors or musicians, a band, your local open night, mic night, week group, youth group, whatever. Let me know. I do group classes upon request. I just feel like I need to get that out there because they can be very fun. I love doing those. Wednesdays, a lot of housekeeping. Good Lord. Wednesdays, I have a lot of openings. So if specifically you have any like you were like, oh yeah, well Wednesday's wide open for me and I'd love to start lessons. Wednesdays usually have a lot of open times. Tuesdays and Thursdays are getting a little packed, but I can still squeeze you in there. Anyway, wowzers, lots of housekeeping once again. Any other questions before I go, guys? I'm going to hop off soon. If not, this has been a true delight, and I thank you for being here and a lot of great questions. So, with that, I am going to head out and take my dog for a walk and do the timestamps for this video. Have a wonderful rest of your evening or day, and I'll see you next week on Wednesday for a mid-week live. It's going to be a different time, 11:15 a.m., right after I answer Callie's question really quick. Hey, Callie! Any tips for hitting high notes? Okay, this is a big one. So if you need help with high notes, make sure that you hum it or lip trill it first. See if you can get up there. Okay. Another thing you do is an NG. If you can hit that high note on an NG, on a lip trill, you can hit it in real life with your mouth open, but but you just have to figure out how to do that. A common issue people have when they sing high is they tense up some muscles. They might start squeezing. And it has that choky sound. That's the larynx. So what I recommend is sliding and start in your chest voice. It'll relax that larynx. Try to keep it pretty relaxed. Don't push down your larynx like, don't do that. But just try to keep it nice and even, okay? And if it starts to feel choky as you get higher, stop, try it again. Or try it on a lip trill. I find that doing the creak sound, like a creaking door sound, really helps with high notes because your vocal folds are coming together the way you need them to for those high notes, maybe stretching them a little bit, but your larynx isn't crawling up and squeezing too much. So I would try that. Lip trills, see if you can open up on them, or on an NG, or on a creek, and you might just have that note pop out. Try more open vowels like as opposed to like an E vowel. That's kind of hard to do. Hope that helps. I'm gonna end the stream, but y'all have been so lovely. Callie, thank you for hopping in right in the ninth inning. Is that a baseball term? Anyways, okay. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.